Welcome back to my channel. It's Maniya here, and I'm back with another video and a special guest. So, if you did know, I don't know how you could know because the title is my birth story. But I had a baby. I had my son, Messiah Pierre Blackman. He is about to be 3 weeks. He's so sweet, adorable, and loving, and attached to me at the moment, and his dad. He doesn't really like to be put down, which is why I have to have him in this carrier right now, because if I put him in his crib or lay him on the bed, he will wake up. Where do we begin? My birth the birth of him was very intense. Not the whole experience, more the ending part when he actually comes out. It was very intense. So let's start from the beginning. I went to my doctor's appointment, and the doctor told me that he was at a good growth, about 7 pounds, and it was getting close. I was like 2 days away from 40 weeks. So he was like, if you don't go into labor naturally by next week on Tuesday, then Wednesday you'll be induced. And that was completely not my plan. I didn't want to be induced. I always imagined a natural labor where I'm at home, contractions start, I go to the hospital when they get crazy. So I did everything I possibly could to research how to go into labor naturally. I walked to the park, around the park, every day. What else? I did acupuncture, acupressure, where you like massage pressure points on your body to make you go into labor and have contractions. I did nipple stimulation. I looked up a lot, and nothing was consistent. Nothing was staying. Nothing was sticking around. So I decided, I'm not going to think about this anymore because I don't want to stress myself out. And the baby comes, he will come when he wants to come. So finally, June 16th came, and 3 o'clock in the morning, contractions started. They were regular contractions about every 10 minutes, and they were lasting for 30 to 40 seconds, but they weren't crazy strong, so I wasn't worried about anything. I went through the whole entire day having them, and we got to the next day, and they started to get stronger, and a lot stronger, to the point where June 17th, around 11 o'clock, I called the hospital. I called the hospital before that because I was having a little bit of discharge, brown discharge, and they were getting stronger at that point too, but they weren't as strong as when I left to go to the hospital. But I still called just to let people know that things were happening for me. The nurse said, you can come in, but it's possible you could go home if they're not crazy strong or close together. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stick it out. I'm gonna just stay and, let this happen. So June 17th comes, it's around 11 o'clock, and they're strong at this point where I need to stop, deal with them, and then keep going with my day. So I called the doctor's office. He was in. He said, come on in. Let's go, Miss Carter. Come on in. So I was like, yes. So me and my boyfriend, we packed our stuff. It was really exciting. We got everything together. We hopped in a cab, and we made our way to the hospital. So we got to the hospital at 12, checked in. I went into triage. He couldn't come with me because they had the rules still where you can't go in with your partner unless they're having the baby. So he sat in the hallway. They hooked me up to the monitor to hear the baby's heartbeat. They took my blood pressure. They said that my blood pressure was high. It was 140 over something, which is high. And they checked me and said that I was 1 centimeter dilated, and they were going to admit me because of me being overdue. I was 40 weeks and 5 days on June 17th. So they admitted me. They put this needle in my arm. Oh my God. That needle was the worst thing in the world. It was so painful the entire time. It didn't become unpainful until they took it out. when we were leaving the hospital. So I was going through this situation of pain and being in contractions at the same time. It was very frustrating. They do my COVID test, which came out negative. It really wasn't that bad, but it was still just annoying to have that stick go up your nose. So finally, we go to my delivery room, which is beautiful, big delivery room. All of the footage I have is in the birth vlog. It's not a lot of footage because I was going through a lot, so I wasn't really thinking about recording. That's why I wanted to do my birth story. But it was a nice big room. They hooked me up to this blood pressure thing that took my blood pressure like every 10 minutes or something, and that was annoying too. It was automatically checking my blood pressure. So we got in our room at 3 or 4. We got in the room, and they put me on Pitocin because they wanted to speed up the labor because my blood pressure was high, and they didn't want the baby to be in there with my blood pressure high and, you know, him being late and all that. So they were like, let's speed this up. So they gave me Pitocin, which I hated because it made everything stronger. The contractions got horrible to the point where by 5 o'clock I had to get that epidural. The epidural wasn't that bad. I thought it was gonna be worse than it was. It really wasn't that bad. I barely felt it because the contractions were happening at the same time, so I wasn't even worried about it. As soon as I got it, it worked immediately. I felt amazing. That was my time to take a nap, and I didn't. I couldn't go to sleep because my boyfriend was so excited. He was on video chat, FaceTime with his family and his friends, and he was loud. So I was just up watching TV, eating Jello, you know, trying to rest, but I really couldn't. And then at around 11 o'clock, I finally closed my eyes because the nurses were coming in and out, in and out, in and out, like every couple of minutes because my blood pressure was high. When I was going through the pains and stuff, his heart rate was going up and down. So they were monitoring him every couple of minutes. So that's why I really didn't get any rest. I started to get really itchy from the epidural, so I was moving a lot and messing up the monitors that was trying to track the baby's heartbeat. So she had to keep coming in and helping me get comfortable. It was very frustrating. Finally, around 11 o'clock, I closed my eyes. By 11:30, like 5 nurses came in, and they were like, "Hi, Miss Carter, so we're going to check you now." And I was like, dang, I got like 5 seconds of sleep. So they checked me. I was 4 centimeters dilated. They were like 4 to 5. So I was like, wow, that was fast. Right after that, they went out and they were like, we're going to see if it's okay to break your water now. So they came back 30 minutes later and broke my water. And they had a lot of like trainees and stuff, which I wasn't worried about, but like you could tell that they were like nervous. But besides that, they broke my water, and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. I didn't really feel no difference when they broke my water. It still felt exactly the same. Like I didn't feel no gush of water. I didn't feel anything. It was just like they broke my water and I felt the same. But then, and like within 45 minutes, I started to feel contractions again. And they were bad. Like they were bad contractions to the point where I was like, I had to move, I had to shift, I had to like try to do something. And an hour after going through a couple of contractions, I decided I needed another dose of medicine. The lady came in, the one who did my epidural, she gave me some medicine. That made me feel a little better, but within another 45 minutes, that didn't work anymore. So I was going through the pain, starting to be very uncomfortable. I started to get louder and louder with my moaning and frustration, and I asked for another dose of medicine, which I'm mad that I did because I feel like that one really made things worse. Right after I got that one, it was like, it's like it made it 10 times worse. I felt the medicine hitting my nerves, and it was painful. It was so painful. It's like it made the contraction 10 times worse. So they got really bad. I was screaming. At this point, the nurse is like, you have to breathe, you have to breathe. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stay focused. I just was screaming at the top of my lungs. And my boyfriend's like trying to help me. He's like, breathe. You heard the nurses, just breathe, breathe, trying to hold my hand. It was getting intense. And then it got to a point where it was like I was full on high pitched screaming out of my mind, like somebody was tearing open my skin. It was crazy. And then they finally was like, we're gonna page the nurses to check you again. So they paged the nurse, and they came and they checked me. She was like, oh yeah, she's ready to push. So this is at like 4 o'clock in the morning. The nurse who's been with me the whole night, she's like, all right, we're gonna start doing some practice pushes. So we start doing practice pushes, and we're pushing every contraction. She's going 1, 2, 3 to 10 seconds, and it's hard to hold your breath and push for 10 seconds. I felt like I was gonna pass out, but it felt good. Like, it didn't hurt to push. I didn't feel pain when I pushed. I felt pain when I wasn't pushing, which was crazy. So we do that for an hour. It's 5 o'clock now, and still no doctor, still no anesthesiologist, still just my boyfriend and the one doctor, the one nurse. And she's like, all right, we're gonna keep going, we're gonna keep going. We get to like 5:45, and she's like, the head is there, so we're gonna chill for a little bit. And I'm like, I need to push, I can't hold this, I can't hold. I was like crying hysterically. I'll insert some clips of my face, but I was hysterically upset. And finally, the doctor comes in with a whole bunch of different nurses. Everybody's ready. The baby's about to come out. It's a big moment. He's like, all right, push. I push. And then at some point, the baby got to the point where he was right there, and all the pain went away. And I was like, oh, I feel great. But then the pain kicked back in when his head was coming out. Ooh, that was the burning, the stinging that took place. It's like I felt myself ripping. It was, oh my God. The windows could have broke how loud I screamed from his head coming through. But once his head came through, I felt great. The shoulders came, beautiful. They took him out, boom. It was like, whoo, we did it. But they cut the umbilical cord really fast, and they ran off with him. And my boyfriend was like, I thought I was gonna cut the umbilical cord, but the doctor said that it was an emergency and they had to take him. So we found out later that he wasn't breathing when he came out. So they had to take him to the little birthing room that was like in the same room, but it was like right next door, and give him some oxygen and get all the stuff out of his throat. But he was only like that for like 1 minute, and then he was crying, and everything was fine. He was completely healthy and great. I was exhausted after he came out. Completely exhausted to the point where I thought I was gonna pass out. And I'm trying to like love my baby and hold him, and I hold him and be there, but I was like so out of it. But I still didn't even sleep for a whole couple of hours. I don't think I slept until that night. He came out at June 18th at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I don't think I went to sleep until like 10 o'clock that night or something. But it was crazy. Like, that experience of having a baby, it's very fast, but it seems very long. I mean, I felt like my experience was very fast for it being my first child, because I was only, from like going to the hospital, because like, yeah, I started labor, I started my contractions on June 16th and didn't have him until the 18th, but I didn't go to the hospital until the 17th, and I had him the 18th that morning. So I didn't feel like it was that long. I felt like everything happened really, really quickly. But that experience of pushing on a baby is like no other experience. It definitely is life-changing, and honestly, I still feel like I'm in shock. It's hard to believe that this little boy grew in my body for 9 months and came out to be his own person. That's crazy to me. It's still very shocking. I'm very impressed with myself and human nature and all that. It was just a very crazy experience. But I'm happy that I went through it. I'm happy that I got through it. We got a healthy, beautiful, sweet little boy out of it. That's pretty much my birth story. The delivery process wasn't very long, but then when we got to the postpartum room, we were there for 2 days, 2 days or 3 days. I can't really remember the exact amount of days, but it was longer than the doctor said we were going to be there. Like, he told us we were going to leave the next day, which is the 19th, but we ended up staying to the 20th, I think, because his jaundice was rising, his levels, so they wanted to make sure everything was okay with him before we left. And also the process of him getting his circumcision took too long, because like he was supposed to do it, but he never even came back until the following day. So it was like we was just sitting in the hospital. I felt like forever. The nurses come and check on you like every 5 seconds. It feels like. I don't even think, like, it's no way you can sleep in a hospital. You can't get good sleep. The nurses come in and they're like, rest. How? There's another nurse coming in 5 minutes. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I didn't really get good sleep until we got back home. But yeah, that is my birth story. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video.